Yeah.
When we talk about culinary confections, Dorothy, we're talking about making cakes. Now, you said something about how it's the person that makes the cake, what you kind of love to do. And for people listening, I'm letting you know, we recorded like 10, 15 minutes. I didn't have my microphone plugged in, so I will call that as my fault. But you were talking about the more of the detail, and you said someone with dainty hands to make a cake. Kind of the person that pays more attention to detail is the ones that want to design the cakes. If you look at so many people that, whether you're a baker, whether you're a cook, whether you're the list goes on and on. The differences in the job, the title, and description. Someone says, I'm a chef, and someone says, I'm a cook. Those are two very distinct things.
Yeah.
One person can make a bulk order of stuff while another person does a whole line of maybe culinary crafts, such as more precision, more about the art of
Right.
plating, all these different styles and techniques. When it comes to a cake, though, when you're making it into an edible factor, there's a lot of detail that goes in it, not only on the aspect of how much you have to put into to make it even into an edible confection, but also the fact of how do you want it to look? Who are you trying to please as your audience? It's a bit of your
Yeah.
personality spiked into the cake.
Yeah. Um, Gosh, so there was one I have made medicated cakes, like lots of them, but this one in particular, it's on my Instagram. I'd say it's about a year ago or so, maybe a little bit more than that. I made it for one of our friends and for their wedding. It was a 3-layer cake. It was a square cake, and they are both DJs. So they wanted a music cake. So it's kind of a process to, design, to basically figure out what they want. So I mean, they came over, we smoked, and then we figured out. We went online and took a look at various pictures of other cakes and designs that they were interested in, and then we kind of combined a few different styles of what they were wanting, and then figured out also what kind of medication and how much medication they wanted to have in the cake too. It was an entirely medicated 3-tier cake. It had chocolate music notes on the outside, and it had these little like succulent flowers that were kind of like set up on the tiers, really pretty. That's probably like my favorite cake, but there's a lot, there's a lot of process that goes into it with the math, because with it being 3-layer, they wanted each piece to be 20 milligrams a piece. It ended up being 80 pieces total. So we had to figure out, 80 pieces times 20 milligrams, and then figure out how much of my medicated butter needs to go into the recipe to make the batter for all of these cakes. So I mean, that's kind of the extra step of the medication process, that goes beyond regular cake making. And then you have to think about your cake has to be in there, at least at 360, sometimes a little bit higher, but your cannabinoids are starting to vaporize at 345. Your terpenes are vaporizing at lower temperatures than that. So you want to, it's kind of like a fine line. You get your concentrate and your butter tested so that you know how much medication you have in here, and then you have to figure out how much to put into the cake. So it's really cool, just the
It's
math
like
that
if you
goes
look
into
at
it. Like I do math all day every day.
That's what I'm saying. If you look at it like there's the cooking class, and then there seems like to be a branch off that's like another category, which is like for the advanced, which is like more of the edible chef arrangement type deal, because now you're factoring in not only how hard it is to make a process of cooking, being quiet and stuff too. Like I mentioned, being 13, wrestling with my best friend in the kitchen and trying to keep quiet because there's a
Yeah.
souffle in the oven.
Yeah.
there's that category. And then now you have to add on the fact that you also have to make sure you're measuring out even more things, not just on sugar, but on the factor of now you got to know how much butter you're using, how much of the edibles or the THC that you're incorporating into this thing. Make sure people can get the right dosage without eating the cake and
Right.
freaking out.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I ended up cutting the cake on site. I mean, it was our friend, so we went to the wedding. So that was really like probably one of the top experiences, I would say, just because, I mean, you plan out the cake, you make the cake, then you deliver the cake, and then like they at that point have gotten married, and then you're cutting the cake and you're serving it to all the people there that have their cards and are able to medicate, and it's just a cool experience to get that immediate feedback. So I mean, I would say like events and like lounge experiences are probably the top experiences for an edible chef, just because then you get to see the immediate reaction. But I mean, I like the reaction and the feedback that I get from people, because I mean that's how you get better.
Would you ever thought in a million years you would end up being a cannabis chef? We talk about the strict kind of Polish background that you had, where that was even a thought into your head. But to see where you're at now, to see where you're at when you was a kid, like, don't you wish you just go back in time, be like, you're going to be a cannabis chef one day, and then someone's just like, what? Like, you don't know what that means in my household. It's like, just wait, time's going to change.
Dude, no, like never in a million years would I have thought that I never really even thought that I would be a chef. But definitely not like anything to do with cannabis, and definitely not a cannabis chef. I, I mean, I out of high school, I mean, I went to GCC for chemistry. I thought that at that point I wanted to be an optometrist, or like not an optometrist, but um, the person that does like the surgeries on the eyes. I think it's like an ophthalmologist. So it's kind of crazy. Like now, I can't even like get my blood drawn without kind of freaking
You
out.
went from wanting to open up eyes to making them squint. Like, how that is the best thing I have ever heard. Like, that is perfect. That's a
Yeah.
complete
So
180.
like, I don't know, like complete shift. I did switch, after a year of going to GCC, I switched to wanting to be a biomedical engineer, and then I just didn't kind of know what I wanted to do. I did finance for like a decade. I did credit counseling
You
and
did all the stuff
insurance.
that marks the main pegs of being professional. You did
Yeah.
all.
So I mean, that's what helped me get here.
I
I
feel
mean,
like
without that, I couldn't be here.
that's what's awesome about how the world's going. Like we were mentioning before like I messed up the recording, was the fact of, I'm gonna insult myself on it through this whole
It's
episode, but
okay. It's okay.
it's
Yeah.
happy little accidents. But
Right.
literally,
Precisely.
we were mentioning the kind of the 180 shift that society has gone to, where we've stigmatized weed for so long, and then now it's flipped this whole other way where it's turning out to be a medical benefit, and there's so many people that you wouldn't even think would be using this type of thing. I mean, it seems like it's instilled to us as we're kids, or as the times have kind of changed, that you have to get a good paying job, a good salary, a good 401k, a retirement, all these types of things. And then now we're seeing a world where Fortnite can win you $1 million. Cannabis chefs are an actual like legit job, and
Yeah.
all these other things you wouldn't have even thought about. And that's not me insulting cannabis chefs. That's me on the aspect of enlightening of how, as a society, we've changed in some good ways. We've
Yeah.
changed in more of opening up our minds to things that have been left for so long. Because I think, like, I love every stoner movie, Pineapple Express, all those types of things, but they really do the service of a dishonor when they come to the aspect of trying to be a professional in this industry. Everyone thinks that you're just sitting around smoking. I live in a beach town, so everybody thinks we're sitting around smoking grass the whole time. I'm like, no, not even freaking close. There's a lot of people
Right.
here that are doing some major jobs. I work construction and I get high every day. It's like, you shouldn't be building buildings if you're doing that. But then you start to
Yeah.
notice that It is more potent, but it's not like how you see on TV where you just want to smoke and eat a whole bag of chips. You want to have this experience, but at the same time, it helps with depression. It helps with physical issues. I know so many people that if you would have met them before they smoked, it was heartbreaking to hear the stories and what they went through. And then once they started trying edibles and they started finding a way to medicate through cannabis instead of using pills, the
Yeah,
complete 180 shift has been, I mean, it's blown my mind.
right. Yeah, no, that's I agree with that entirely. I mean, there's so many people that are able to, get off of pain medication and anti-anxiety medication with the help of cannabis and the medical marijuana program. I mean, just having that exposure at the farmers markets and the lounges, and having that face-to-face interaction with the patients, even at the dispensary, you see how those medications affect people. And I mean, even experiencing it myself, after being in an accident, then seeing my dad when he had cancer, having to take pain medication. It's revolutionary what it can do for the people that don't buy into reefer madness. Um, it's I guess that's kind of like the hardest thing is getting people to dismiss the reefer madness notion and accept the fact that like science is science, and there's a reason that I don't know that the research is saying and is showing us that cannabis is helping. I mean, back in 1912 and in the 19 or before that, I mean, cannabis was written about in textbooks for doctors, and then it got completely taken out of the textbooks, just I mean basically because of racism and uh and they just
It's
wanted
that
to
whole
do
laziness.
segregation.
It's
It's
it's that whole laziness factor too, where it's seen as like if you smoke, you're going to be lazy. But honestly, I've seen the
right.
most productive people that are on it, the most creativity. I mean, it's a form
Yeah,
of expression to see where, like, I've seen people that are sitting there stumped on something and they smoke and then, or they eat something. And next thing you know, they're freaking writing down paragraphs upon paragraphs of ideas and all these crazy
yeah,
combinations. And I love the experience on it, to be honest with you. I've had really bad experiences the whole time, but once I find the correct level and find what suits me, the most amazing thing is to see how I can perceive the world in a whole new way. If you've ever smoked or you've ever gotten high before, what I say, it takes the sunglasses off your eyes. It
yeah,
shows you more detail. I think it's just you we walk around neglecting so many things about like the world, like, oh, what I'm doing with my life, you're just on the same routine over and over and over again. And the
yeah,
one thing about this is that it kind of opens you up to, I guess, a broader horizon of, oh, I'm totally missing out on the the smell of the ocean, the
yeah,
cooling of the wind. And I was talking to Chef Turtle, when he started up his YouTube channel and everything
yeah.
too. I was there with that process. What's in it, like,
Nice.
where do you want to take yours? Where do you want to end up? Do you want to go farther than Ruby Red Confections? Are you trying to turn this into maybe a cooking show? I mean, you could definitely beat Martha Stewart.
Well, thank you for that. Gosh, I mean, definitely I want to keep Ruby Red Confections going forward. I would be so down for, having more cake orders come in, being able to kind of expand that. I, it would be really awesome to, actually be able to hire somebody to work with me to be able to, move my Ruby Red Confections even more forward. That would be really super awesome. But something I've kind of been working on in the background is my ganja yoga. I am a certified yoga teacher as well for hot yoga. That's something I don't know. I wear a lot of hats. So that's just one of the hats that I wear to help with my anxiety. So I guess that just trying to expand that. I have another page, DL Yoga 360. I only have a couple posts there, but I'm going to be expanding that. I'd like to create an online yoga platform.
You're really
That,
about helping people, like in so many
yeah,
ways.
yeah. It's, I don't know, it's really nice to be able to come to grips with the various things that cause anxiety in your life, and just creating that balance.
Well, the two main professions that we've kind of talked about with the cannabis chef, and now we're talking about yoga, it's all about finding yourself, like kind of
Yeah,
opening up your mind's eye, which I think is
yeah,
extremely important. And I really appreciate that you're out there doing that, because you know how many
yeah,
people in this world are just looking around searching for an answer and can't find anything. And like for me, for instance, if you would have told me 3, 4 years ago that I was going to be a guy that will believe in forms of meditation, yoga, I would have laughed so hard in your face. It would have been like obviously fake laughter, but it would have been like, really? Like you're going to laugh that out loud about it? Like, LOL, really? But
yeah, yeah.
from talking to so many people and really trying to slow down, because I'm an insomniac, so I always got to be doing something. I always
Right.
got to be, rushing with my thoughts and trying to slow down and take a second to breathe. Are you kidding me? But I remember a rainstorm that happened, and the first thing I like to do is I like to listen to the rain. So I usually shut my room in complete darkness and try and just to listen in and really kind of
Yeah.
find peace with it. But then I remember I laid in my garage on the floor like I was an idiot, kind of. But like I'm laying on
No.
this floor in the garage and I'm hearing the picker patter against the garage door and hearing the wind hit it hard. And I just felt at peace. And I'm like, there's a constant storm going on in my mind 24/7. And to hear it on the outside and not inside for once was just, it was a complete revelation.
Yeah. That's really cool. I wish I had a garage. Maybe one day I'll have a garage and I can do that. But in the meantime, I have our our patio is actually like a metal roof patio. So anytime it rains, it basically does like that little like pitter patter. And I fucking love that, man. Like it's so great. I love the rain,
Well,
and just like thunderstorms, and just being able just to like be there with the energy of the weather. I don't know.
sometimes you
I
literally have to
fun.
stop yourself in your tracks and be like, oh, it's raining outside. Like I need to go check something out. Like my cousin opened that up to me in the biggest way when he stayed with us over the summer. He stayed with us almost for a year. And he was like, dude, you're missing out on so many experiences. And I'm like, okay, man, well, I gotta do some schoolwork. I gotta do this. I got a podcast I gotta do. And he's like, just stop for a minute. And he just goes,
Yeah,
come outside. And then like next thing you know, I'm outside and I'm like, what? We're outside. He goes, listen. And it's just a picker patter of rain. He's like, you
yeah.
see that? You see what you're missing? And I'm like, how many drugs have you taken? And why is this so enjoyable to you? And he's like, dude, there are moments in your life that you totally just don't even realize are happening that are some of the most beautiful things in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever a thunderstorm happens, I actually got excited because the forecast for this weekend was the factor of it was going to be thunderstorms. So I'm like,
Woo, sweet.
what I do is in my podcast studio, I take this giant black curtain out from behind me and I shut my room in complete darkness. And then I just like to see, because right out this window is nothing but water. So I get to see the lightning crackle up against the sky.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's those nights that where you feel like the static in the air, where your hair starts standing up on your
Right.
arms and stuff. And you're like, whoa, it's going to be a good show.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh man, I don't know. I would love to. In my wildest dreams, I would love to be a storm chaser. I don't think I should do that. But I love it that much that I don't know. Who
I,
knows?
I've seen tornadoes happen and I'm like,
Maybe not that. I don't know.
I
Arizona's kind of mild. I mean, we go big on our storms, but not tornado style. Not
Well,
so
when
much.
when you're teaching yoga, for instance, who are you trying to make it adaptable for? I feel like a lot of times, like the focus is kind of hits this. stereotypical, like I work at a gym, so we have hot yoga in the room beside us and stuff, and it's
Okay.
always the same, like people dressed up with like a crop top, always like 20-year-old chicks going in and doing hot yoga or something. I'm like, what about the mom at home who's got to struggle with 3 kids and work 2 jobs and just wants to find a way to find a piece of herself again? Like, is there anything out there that's not like a Tampax commercial where it doesn't go to that audience? It's like, can we make it to a fact of like, hey, there's a form of meditation where you can really find yourself. People talk about a good book. People talk about this. Well, what's a good form of meditation or a trick you try and teach people that makes you different from the rest?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, during my yoga classes, I try to get the students connected, with their breath, and really to get them to understand that they are entirely in control of their experience. And I just try to keep them keep them entirely in the moment, and try to, kind of let them know that this is exactly where they need to be right now, even whatever's going on outside of the mat. There's something in the universe that brought you right here, right now, to bring you, back to yourself, connect you
To your roots.
to your inner being, your breathing. And at the end, I basically just try to uh, get their blood flowing. And then, throughout the practice that I do, it's a vinyasa flow. So there's a warm up that kind of like gets your blood flowing, and then there's standing poses that kind of get you, centered. And then we do some more flows, and then there's a cool down and a warm down process. But kind of like through the flows, I like to put on music that is a little bit more inspiring, that gets you to really think about yourself, and just positive music that's going to help motivate you, and keep you going, and like kind of re-energize you. And then, towards the end of the practice, I like to, finish it off with light stretching, and then kind of walk them through a kind of like a wind down shavasana. I'm not sure exactly what the right term is for it. It may even be considered yoga nidra, where you're basically, getting the students into shavasana, and then you're asking them to, relax their eyes, and then relax their cheeks, release, the tongue from the roof of their mouth, relax their shoulders and their torso, their pelvis, their thighs, the knees, the calves, the ankles and toes, and then just kind of like feel as if you're melting into the mat, and like all of your weight is going into the mat, and you're releasing whatever you need to let go.
Like a
And then,
nice little piece
yeah,
of
I mean,
butter on a stack of flapjacks, to quote
yeah,
from Pineapple Express, the movie I talk trash
yeah,
on. But
yeah,
when you look down into it though, speaking from a place of someone who has anxiety, I can relate on the factor of there's gonna be people out there listening that's like, well, my mind can't stop. Well, I can't do this. It's like, have you really tried, besides thinking about making it stop and trying your best to zone out of it? I understand how difficult it is. Trust me, I have anxiety and it gets hard all the time. And I think that's why like edibles come in handy to help you get to that place. But it's obviously the factor of we're worrying, we're comparing too much about the future, we're worried about things that are out of our control a lot of the times.
yeah,
I think it's things set instilled upon us when we're kids to have this unrealistic expectation of what to achieve and what it means to be famous or what it means to be in the eye or something. But when you look down into who you are and what you need to find, I think like during this whole situation the world's come to in 2020, where everyone was staying at home, spending all this time trying to figure out what's going on and how to, find themselves, we saw a lot of people start to spark that inner passion for something that they left dormant
Yeah.
long, long ago. And I think with forms of meditation, it helps, but trying to bring somebody out of a state of hypertension, I would say, when it comes to focusing on everything around them, or hyperactiveness, whatever, um, it's difficult. But finding that peace, that inner calm before the storm, or the eye of the storm, where there's nothing else really affecting around you and it's just you in this moment, is what I talk about when I mention ever just getting high for the first time, whether it was too much. It was the experience, though, of how my body and my mind, like I overreacted way too much of tripping, I would say, but it showed me things that I was completely neglecting. I mean, the fact my posture was shit, it's still shit, but it's the factor of like, oh, you need to be like, my mind was like, hey, why don't you sit straight up? Why don't you correct this? Why don't you do this? And I started noticing like, hey, that's a second Diet Coke. Why don't you try a water? And then like my mind was self-correcting and fixing things for me. And I was like, whoa, like you start to realize what you're neglecting when it comes to your physical health. But the most important thing is your mental health. Like the reason why people always talk about, I want to go into nature and I want to be one with nature. It's because your mind is constantly stressed out and you don't understand these stress fractures that are impacting your brain because you just go to sleep or watch Netflix. That's good to get your mind off of it. Don't get me wrong. Don't mess with the Zohan on Netflix. I recommend it. But it's a factor of you need to fix it. You need to bring back that clarity. And I used to be the type of guy where if you would have came up to me with dreads in your hair and you wearing yoga pants or something, I would have been like, get out of my face. What do you mean you have life advice for me? Go to Burning Man. But then now I look at it, I'm like, you found something in yourself. You found like a deep exploration in a cave, like you're Brendan Fraser in The Mummy. You found this treasure. And I want to ask, what is your piece? What is the thing inside you that whenever you start doing it, or whenever you get near it, or maybe even a happy moment?
Uh, Gosh, I would say, I don't know, for me, it kind of takes about, sometimes it's like half the battle is really getting there. And then finally, when you get there, I guess it depends on how long I have been neglecting myself, as to how long it takes me to get to my aha moment. Usually I need to go through, a series of like, deep breaths and then my yoga warm up for probably like 15 minutes or so. Um, and then I will, like, something in my mind is like, I love you, Dorothy. And I'm like, oh shit, I love me too. Or I love you
Yeah.
too, I don't know, a few years ago, I don't know, this maybe like five, 5 years ago or so. I don't know, I was kind of depressed. I've been anxious like my whole life. But I ran across something that said that you should like look at yourself in the mirror and look in your eyes and just tell yourself that you love yourself. It's no, it's very rare for people to talk to themselves as if they are their best friend. And I think that's somewhat of when my shift started happening, more towards yoga and like just more towards loving myself was when I did look, straight in the mirror and you look at your eyes and you see your pupils and you see all of the striations of color. And like, you just realize like there's so much, in there, to love. And that's kind of what shifted my perspective. And then now, I mean, 5 years later, sometimes I just look in the mirror in the morning and like my inner self is like, I love you. I'm like, oh, I love you too. And yeah, and then that, I mean, it happens happens in yoga. I mean, the longer that you do it, the more consistent that it is. Um, the more I feel connected with myself and confident. I think when I'm not connecting with myself, I kind of lose my confidence and like my passion, like why am I doing what I'm doing? But when I'm exercising and I am connecting, with myself and I'm breathing, I'm able to realize, what's actually important.
Do you think that it would be a benefit to society if we started incorporating yoga or forms of meditation or forms of just relaxation therapy, I would say, and younger kids? Because I feel like when I was a kid compared to how I look in the mirror at myself now, you talk about loving yourself, which to a lot of people, like, you're going to love yourself. That's sad. It's like, no, it's really not. Because when I
Yeah.
look in the mirror from when I was a kid, I used to look in the mirror, stare at my pupils in the mirror or something, but I would be like, man, you got a lot of freckles on your face. Oh man, like this is bad. Like to the point where you would take lemon juice and I would rub it on my hands to try and clear up the freckles. It makes them
Oh man.
lighter. But then to where I look at myself in the mirror like today or something, and for a person with body dysmorphia, for instance, this is a struggle because you just don't want to look at yourself at all, really. But I would look in the mirror and I'd look at myself compared to how I felt when I was a kid to where I think now, and I'm like, damn, that fucking beard is filling out, bro. And
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
I'm more like trying to give myself like compliments now and really realize I'm a
Yeah.
person with flaws, but the flaws are kind of some of the best parts. There
Yeah.
are things that actually you might hate about yourself that people will love about you. And I think when I mention therapy for younger kids, I think it's because for so long as little kids, you're taught to aspire and look up to these heroes, which are, people that are hiding a lot of their flaws. And it makes them seem like they're perfect. And nobody's perfect. Everybody's full of imperfections. And the factor is, if you can find that relaxation, if somebody would have told me with my ADHD, hey, sit and breathe for a fucking minute, that might have actually helped. But you know what I was thrown away to? I was thrown to the factor of ADHD back when I was in school wasn't seen as a big thing. It was seen as a mentally challenged thing. It was seen like your son might be autistic. And that's what they told my parents. They used to throw me in a room and they used to tell me to sit still, pay attention. I would get in trouble if I moved or agitated. I would just get up to sharpen my pencil. If some person would have put me in a class to deal with anger, to deal with just trying to relax and slow down and find myself, to think what I would have maybe found sooner than I've kind of found now, more love for myself. And I think in a world where we talk about cannabis chefs being a profession and yoga being a profession, everything being a profession that you wouldn't
Right.
think in a million
Yeah.
years would ever be in like the 20s compared to now, the world
Yeah.
has a lot of learning to do and a lot of things that we've dismissed that needs to get looked back on and shown. Where do you think we're going to head maybe 10 years from now? What do you think life's going to be like?
Oh man.
That's
I
a
mean,
tough question.
gosh, I mean, definitely cannabis is going to be legal. I'm like almost certain that it's going to be legal. I'm pretty sure it's going to be legal this year, if not in Arizona, possibly federally. There's so much, although with everything happening with the times, who knows? But I mean, it's very close to going legal. I think there's more than half the states have a medical marijuana program. So I mean, I definitely feel that. I mean, you are going to see those cannabis restaurants out there. I'm like almost 100% sure that's definitely, going to be a thing. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe there will be a ganja yoga studio. 10 years is a long time to manifest a lot of stuff. They say it takes about like 6 months to manifest something that seemed to be the approximate amount of time that I've noticed for manifesting things. So like, God, 10 years, that's like 20 rounds of manifestations. Um, that's a lot. I don't, And with yeah, so I mean, definitely, ganja yoga studios, I would say, are going to be more prevalent. People trying to get more connected with themselves, get more connected with the natural way to help heal themselves. I think there's going to be somewhat of more of a revolution with cannabis as legalization kind of hits the market.
There should be an
It's going to
industry
spread like
that's
wildfire.
there should be an industry that should be focused on nothing but natural or spiritual healing, I would say. I mean, my aunt's a
Yeah.
spiritualist with like the whole going on with the wands on the beach or something. And I look at that, I'm like, okay, probably not going to do that. But I did try it and I understood why it helped, because I think everyone has this form of this way of trying to find oneself again. And I think with ways like this, like for instance, if we decided to maybe 10 years from now that this would turn into a whole new research or therapy science instead of just this
Yeah.
thing, it's like it's my form of therapy, but actually turn it into a legit craft, something. We have psychology. Why don't we have a type of form of yoga mixed with a natural remedy or herb or something that can help reach people there? Because you start to notice
Yeah.
the people that aren't into yoga is because they're super tense, and trying to tell them to calm down is just going to make them more tense. That's why people use it as like a tool, as a rod to get to the next the
Yeah.
next level. And we talk about the cannabis industry, and we talk about how it's kind of changed, but when we mentioned your favorite thing to make was cakes, kind of the detail and the crucial part, what is the worst thing you hate to make? Because I feel like gummy worms would be really, really bad for you if you like to make cakes.
No, I think gummy worms would be kind of cool. I really like confectionery work, so I don't. It's confectionery work is kind of like um being a glass artist. I'm really fascinated by glass work, so it kind of um it kind of tickles my fancy for the kitchen, but then also that like I'm creating something that is edible that looks just like a piece of artwork, like a glass piece of artwork. Um, oh, I lost my train of thought. Hold on, bring me back.
Well, you strike me like we mentioned before about the different categorizations of chef and cook, more about the art of plating. So you like the whole kind of like, you look at it like an artwork. You look at it like a creative masterpiece that you're trying to create, not really on the aspect of like, I'm going to make this so it's edible and someone's going to love the taste of it, but more on the aspect of you want it to look appealing as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely want it to look appealing. I mean, it's really about like the fit and finish. I mean, there is something about the process of it, and that's what you get when you actually like eat it. But I just really I just like being able to like to look at it and just being able to like admire your work, like not even, I don't know, not even really for even anybody else to admire your work. It's just like, holy crap, I did that.
It's like building a
Uh,
model. Like when I used to build those little bionicle things when I was a kid, when they used to dump all the parts out on the floor, I used to be like, anxiety attack, like, oh, it's going to take me years. And then once I got finished with it, I was like, wow, I did that. I built the fucking Millennium Falcon. Like, nobody touch it. And if you do, I'll stab you. Like, it used to be something like that, where I used to be like so proud of my work. And it's crazy because I've talked to so many chefs and so many people that make something, and to hear them go on about something they created. So you mentioned the music cake.
oh,
Was that something that you were like, that was the hardest thing you've ever created? Or what's the hardest thing you've ever created that literally afterwards you were like, I'm not going to even sell this?
oh man,
You're making me
it's
feel
something that
good
I
as
wouldn't.
like a question person. I like this. I
Yeah, thank you. Oh man,
feel
what? Dang. Um, dude, like, well, I would definitely sell. I would have to make enough to like sell it, but I love gosh, okay, well maybe I guess something that I wouldn't sell. Something that we did at school was uh well, actually, I haven't actually taken this class yet. It's the last degree from Scottsdale Community College, but because of COVID, everything is getting delayed. So, like, I was supposed to take this class last semester. And then this semester they canceled it. So what I would make that I would not let anybody else have would actually be like a sugar sculpture. Um, my friend in class, she made a a SpongeBob sugar sculpture, and it was just so cool. Like I'm looking kind of like past you at this glass dish, like glass bowl that I have, and I like set it into the glass bowl, and I had it in there for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months before like the sculpture kind of started like falling over.
Yeah.
But that's something that I would make that I probably wouldn't, I don't know, if I made like a lot of them, I would definitely share. Um, but I don't know, it's really like um, that artistic thing. And then I guess if it was like a food thing, first thing that I thought of was like a lemon meringue tart. It's like a coconut crust, and then lemon curd, and then meringue on top that is just like really nicely torched. So it's really looks like a s'mores. It's like a s'mores tart. It's
How do you not own your
really
own
delicious.
restaurant?
How do I?
How do you not own your own restaurant? You're talking to me like this is like I feel like I'm listening to Gordon Ramsay go off about like this, like the crisp. What is this? Oh, this is beautiful. Like that's like a nicer Gordon Ramsay. I didn't want to just straight up use the evil Gordon Ramsay because that gets played all the time. But
Yeah. I don't know. It's just so fun.
you have a talent. Look,
It's just so fun.
you gave me the ability to be able to talk to you. And I know I messaged months ago, and I'm so happy that we got to get this done because Neil messaged me and was like, hey, you need to have this girl on. You would love to talk to her. But I
Thank
think
you.
like if I offered you $1 million right now, where would you want to take what would you do with it? Would you go on vacation? Would you go to the Cayman Islands? Or what would you do with Ruby Red Confections?
Oh my God, what I would do with $1 million. Holy crap. I would not just do Ruby Red Confections. I would, I mean, my husband, Lawrence, and I'm pretty freaking positive we would own a dispensary,
Is it
or own our
possible?
own brands. Like yeah, because I mean, my husband does satin extracts. He works for Arise. They make phenomenal extracts. So I mean, it's kind of like a family thing. We I mean, we know like a bunch of growers, and I know just people that are in the industry. That's probably something that I would definitely do with $1 million, and I would go to Hawaii, like 100%, hands down. And then I go for probably a trip to Europe. Um, I have not been to Poland since I was 10, so I definitely go back and probably take, I don't know, Lawrence's dad and Lawrence and maybe my mom, and just, I don't know,
How
just
legal
go
is it in
and
Arizona?
vacation and come
Well,
up with ideas. I mean, there's so much, God, there's so much stuff cannabis wise going on in Europe too. I mean, Israel is is a is kind of like the hub for cannabis research. So I mean, there's tons of information. Spain has a lounge. I'm sorry, not a lounge, but they actually do what I do over at the Mint. They have a cafe that's open.
Well,
So I
Dorothy,
mean, I would,
how
yeah.
like legal is it in Arizona to the point where have you ever thought about trying an edible food truck? Being able maybe not so much of like a giant scale food truck, but more like a small mobile catering thing where you're able to kind of give people treats on the streets.
Nice.
Genius. No, but like
That'd be great.
seriously, there are
Yeah,
people.
I mean,
Yeah.
that would be, and that could be a plausible possibility. I have somebody that has access to a food truck, so I mean, potentially. I mean, right now, I mean, I pretty much just do Ruby Red Confections, out of my house. But but yeah, I mean, to be able to grow that would be great. Yeah.
Even
super
selling
awesome.
cookies out of like the back of your car, like pop open the Toyota like trunk and just be like, "You would you like a cookie?" And then maybe not
Mhm.
offer the kids. I think it's better if you offer adults the treats because that's just not illegal, I guess.
Right.
But on
Yeah.
the
Yeah. No.
but I think it's a great idea, treats on the streets. Like you could literally, and
On
even
the
make,
streets.
if you try to make a YouTube channel too, on the aspect of like just meeting somebody on the side of like, who might be going through something, or just meeting a random person and be like, "Hey, would you be interested in trying this?" And then have a chat with them, get their experience on it, get a bunch of that and get a little bit more show. Because I think when it comes to business, and as much as I talk trash on the internet and technology, it is a great way of growing your business, which I think,
Yeah.
I mean, not saying that it needs it or anything, but more on the aspect of like getting the name out there too, because you're doing something that I think needs more attention for sure.
Thank you. Yes. Working on that every day, trying to just be better than yesterday. So just gotta, keep moving forward. And I have my website out there, and just gotta keep promoting myself. Might, do some contests coming up here soon. I haven't done anything like that in a little while, so I would kind of stay tuned. For contests coming out from Ruby Red Confections, non-medicated and medicated. That way I can kind of cater to both markets. And yeah, and then just keep growing.
Have you ever been asked to cater an event for somebody,
Yeah, yeah. It's
regular or non-regular, like a little bit of medicinal?
both. Both. Yeah, I've done a medicated, as well as non-medicated. The medicated would be more on the pastry end of things, although I could, certainly do, savory as well. There's definitely some recipes I have in my pocket for for savory.
Do you ever have a recipe for something where like, or let's say when we say craziest combination, not the best thing or things you wouldn't want to sell to people, more on the aspect of like, I can't believe I have to make this. Like at my work, we make protein shakes, and there's one thing you would think that everyone would love: a peanut butter slammer. So it involves banana, peanut butter, and a chocolate protein shake. After making 2 days straight of peanut butter slammers, I never want to smell fucking peanut butter again, because even if you're wearing gloves, it's on your hands. I don't know. I fall asleep with my hand like on my face or something. Next thing you know, I'm smelling peanut butter the whole night, to where now I just don't even want to look at a jar of peanut butter. So if somebody asked you for something and you were like, "Oh, I can't believe I gotta make this," what would that be?
Hmm.
I'm coming at you with the good
God, I mean,
questions.
something that I wouldn't want to make, probably just something that involves like shrimp or like seafood. I don't know. I'm like,
You're hurting my
I,
heart. I'm from a
yeah, I'm
beach
sorry.
town.
I don't really, I guess I would do it, but I guess I have opened my horizons more, since working in the culinary industry. But the first 19 years of my life were very sheltered in the various things that I tried. Food wise, I know a lot of Polish foods, but like I didn't try bacon until I was 19. So there's so many flavor combinations and things that I haven't
There you
that I
go. You
have
just
just not been exposed to. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not like a big fan of like clams and things like that. I don't know. It's just the texture kind of thing, and
You got to go to
slimy and
Poland and change their cuisine. Because I know it's a lot of soups and it's a lot of starchy stuff too over there. So it's like, imagine opening up their horizons, or maybe even changing it and adding your own spice to that. I mean, you probably noticed, like you said, kind of like the shelter life a little bit too. But once you kind of opened up your horizons a little bit to newer things, you could do those old style things and turn it into your own way of experiment. And it's like, when you're Mormon and you turn 18, you're able to go experience the full world and decide if you want to come back. You could just come back and be like, "Hey guys, you don't have to just have mushroom soup. You can have this mixed with bam." Next thing you know, you're changing the nation.
right. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely add like a little bit more spice to to the Polish meals. That's something that my husband really likes to do. And over the years of him doing it all the time, I have grown to like it as well. So I think that that's something that I would definitely add to it. Yeah, there's my husband. He's excited about that. And then, God, what else would I add? I think I would add prickly pear stuff.
Prickly pear.
That's Yeah, prickly pear is something that is really unique to Arizona. We have a lot of prickly pear cactuses. They make like prickly pear juice and jelly and different various things like prickly pear margaritas are really delicious. They have those at the Desert Botanical Gardens whenever they open up, to their full extent again. I'm sure they do that again. But yeah, definitely think introducing prickly pear, it would be a really nice balance to the various berries that they have there. They have things like huckleberries and like Marion berries and obviously raspberries and blueberries, but like all sorts of berries because they have forests all over the place. So I don't think they have cacti there. So it would be, yeah.
This might be random, but it wouldn't be out of the blank without it. Every time I hear the word berries, I think of the video where the kid's like blueberries, blueberries, and then he hits his jaw on you ever seen that?
No, I don't.
I'm going to send you this video and it's going to make you laugh.
Send it over.
It was on Tosh.0 when I was a kid and I was like, that's my life.
Well, maybe I have seen it. Sometimes I don't remember because I was high.
Well, look, I appreciate you for doing the podcast, Dorothy. It's been amazing being able to talk to you. Please promote your site, promote where people can find Ruby Red Confections and see some of your delicious treats.
Yes, definitely. Check me out at rubyredconfections.com. You can place orders there for non-medicated items. Just message me on Instagram for medicated items. As long as you're a patient, we're good to go. You can check out my the beginnings of Ganja Yoga at DL Yoga 360 on Instagram so far. And gosh, I'm over at the Mint Dispensary right now at the Mint Cafe. So if you want to come say hi, and you have your medical marijuana card, the counter is right there, and I can come up and say hello. So definitely come visit me. Come visit me and my crew over there. They're super awesome. And oh gosh. I just wanted to give a shout out to my friend Kylie Habishaw. She is helping me out with the kitchen. She's another lead in the kitchen. I met her over at ABC Cake Decorating. It's a really awesome cake decorating store here in Arizona. So I definitely wanted to, give a shout out to them. Billy Hayes, The Lounge, and my husband Lawrence, because he's awesome. You can find his extracts, satin extracts or Rise. So, yeah. Thank you so much.
What is it? Treats on the streets.
Oh, yeah. Treats on the streets. # treats on the streets. I'll start using that.
I'm going to make sure everybody messages you that before they order something. Treats on the streets.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Message me that and then I'll know. That'd be great.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode Out of the Blank podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.